which point lies on the line defined by this equation. So I want to decide which of these points is on this line. Now, one way of doing it is to graph the line and see if it crosses any of these points. But a second way of doing it is algebraically, just by plugging in the x and the y. Now, remember that it's a good idea to stay organized. So let's try letter A. I'm going to plug in the, instead of the x, I'm going to plug in a 1, negative 4, x, plus 12. Instead of the y, I'm going to plug in negative 1/4 equal to negative 3. So the x becomes a 1 and the y becomes a negative 1/4. This gives me a negative 4. Now to multiply, I'm going to place over 1. It's a good idea to reduce your fraction. So I'm going to divide by 4, gives me 3. Divide by 4 gives me 1. Or if you want, you can just multiply across. So it gives me positive 3 times negative 1 will be negative 3. And 1 times 1 is 1. Equal to negative 3. Remember, you can also multiply across. 12, 1 times 4 is 4. So 12 divided by 4 will give me 3. It's basically the same thing. That gives me negative 7 equal to negative 3. No. So let's try letter B. Negative 4, instead of the x, I'm going to plug in a negative 1/4 plus 12. Instead of the y, I'm going to plug in a 1 equal to negative 3. And I'm going to plug in a negative 1/4 instead of the x. And instead of the y, I'm going to plug in a 1. I'm going to place over 1. You can multiply across. Negative times negative is a positive. Or we can just simplify. The 4th and the 4th cancel. Give me 1 divided by 1 is just 1. Plus 12 is equal to negative 3. Sometimes you can see it that that's not going to be it. So let's try letter C. Letter C. Negative 4 x plus 12 y equal to negative 3. So the x is a 1 and the y is 1/12. This gives me a negative 4. The 12's cancel, so I just have a 1, so positive 1. Is that going to be true or false? So in this case, that's going to be true. Now it's a good idea to continue checking letter D, just in case there are multiple answers. So it'll be negative 4 x plus 12 y equal to negative 3. Instead of the x, I'm going to plug in a 1/12. Instead of the y will be a 1. Now if you notice in this case, this reduces to 1 and 3, so it'll be 1/3 and plus 12. Is that going to be equal to 3? No. So therefore the only answer is letter C. Just be careful when there are multiple answers. In this case there's only one. And if you read the question carefully, in this case it says which point, so there's only one. Sometimes it might say which points, which there might be multiple answers.